Hello, I am Laci and about 1 month ago I upgraded my camera to Panasonic LUMIX S1H from my GH5. Today I would like to speak about my experience, what I like, what I don't like about this camera, which gear I bought with it, and if you are considering the same move, hopefully I can give you some useful tips. Let's go! The reason why I wanted this upgrade was that simply I wanted to increase my production value. I know it's silly that you want to get better just by buying a new camera, and that's not all. I'm also improving myself in other ways, but if you're trying to land some better jobs, the client starts to ask if you have a certain level of gear, and GH5 is simply a consumer camera that many people has. So if you want to have some better jobs, you need to step up your game and you need to have some production value. TV camera and S1H was just the perfect direction, so I went for it and I was really curious if it will improve my work. So what I wanted from this camera was a better quality, better colors. I never truly liked the colors that came straight out of GH5. I wanted better log profile because I never liked V-Log L on the GH5, and I wanted better stills because on GH5 it was not as good as maybe stills from Canon or other full frame cameras. So I was very curious to have like a body that can handle the video and the stills, because for my workflow it's very handy and convenient, and in one shoot I can make both stills and video. Also, another thing that is definitely bonus is better low light performance with the full frame sensor, and another thing that I really like about this camera is the weather sealing. So I went all in into this upgrade. I only kept my GH5 and 2 lenses as a backup, and the rest of my gear I sold. And I bought S1H with 3 lenses, 2 extra batteries, 2 memory cards, gimbal, tripod, cage, new microphones, lights, flashes, and then this. So first let's take over a look about what I like and don't like about this camera. If you have a perfect light and scenario, the image is gonna look pretty similar to GH5. If you color correct it, it's not gonna be like dramatically better, but where it shows the power is all the other scenarios. So if you're indoors, low light, against the sun especially, so where in GH5, in order to have a great image, I had to look for a particular scenario where the GH5 looks good. With S1H you have a little bit more flexibility how to shoot and how to make stills. Next thing, what I really like is the weather sealing. The camera is very durable. You can basically shoot while rain, or it can get splashed near water, and this is something that is really important for me. I couldn't have camera that cannot handle the outdoors. So if you're shooting outdoors in some heavier environments, I mean, that's a great package, and I don't think you can find anything better. Obviously, one of the reasons why to go for this camera is the great image stabilization. Together with lenses, if you have dual image stabilization like I have on 24 to 105 Lumix lens, you can pretty much shoot handheld everything. I rarely use gimbal, only if I have to move really fast and follow somebody, because if you want to make some small pans and movements, the camera works great. If you pair it with slow motion and shoot some scenes, like you can basically have a crane from your hands, and that's amazing, and not many cameras these days can do such a great job with image stabilization. Another plus is all the modes and customization that this camera allows. Whatever resolution, frame rate, color profile you want to shoot, whatever setting, buttons, you can customize everything and tweak it to your preference. So, you know, it's very versatile. You don't have to learn how to work with camera. You can learn camera how to work with you and the way how you're used to work with cameras. Another great thing is the ease of use. I mean, Lumix cameras were always super popular for their availability. I mean, it's really easy to control and use and pretty fast to learn everything. So if you're like me and you're on the run and you need to have a camera set up fast and be always ready to shoot, this is a great package. And another thing that I'm really happy with is the upgrade in stills. I was never completely happy with the stills coming from GH5. It was maybe too bit contrasty and I never liked the colors too much. and especially if you shoot against the sun, the GH5 did not produce the nice sharpness in the shadows, and I see definitely a big upgrade in S1H still, so I'm really happy that this part of my work can really benefit from S1H. Even though I'm really happy with the camera, it's definitely not the perfect camera, and there are things that I would really like to see and hopefully to be improved. The first is the price. Obviously this is a pricey camera, and compared to GH5 all the accessories are expensive, so if you want to buy this camera and with all the accessories, you're looking to upgrade cost between 5 and to 10,000 euros. So yeah, I mean, you have to get your budget ready. The second thing that I really was aware of is that it's big and heavy. I didn't think it's gonna be a problem, but when you actually hold the camera, it is really big. Compared to GH5, which is like so small and handy, I never thought it's gonna be an issue. For me, I was like, okay, I want a big camera that looks good and professional, and that's good. I mean, like when people see you with a camera, with a rig, they already assume, okay, you're professional. It happened to me on a shoot when I was shooting people on an event, and they're like, oh yeah, you're filming for a TV or something. I mean, that would never happen with GH5. So it can be good thing and it can be bad thing. For example, if you're shooting documentary and you want to be hidden, you don't want people to notice too much, I mean, yeah, then the GH5 is a better option. But yeah, it's heavy. I mean, it's a good workout if you think about it. I mean, my hands are tired if I'm working full day with the with the S1H. So yeah, it's something to consider. But I think it comes with higher production value cameras. I mean, if you're shooting with a Red or Alexa, I mean, that's a completely different story. So yeah, but be ready for that. It's a bigger camera, it's a heavier camera, and you're gonna feel it. Yeah, and the last thing you probably know already from other reviews is the autofocus. I mean, I did not expect it to be good because I'm used from GH series that autofocus was never good on Panasonic cameras, but on S1H is almost good. I mean, it's better than GH5 in my experience. For example, right now I'm using autofocus for this interview, so you will see if it worked good. So it almost works, but it works like 90 to 95%, which is just not enough. Like, I tried first few days to shoot with autofocus, and just out of nowhere it just loses focus. So in a real scenario I would not be able to rely on it, and it's such a shame because like once you start using the autofocus, it's so nice and it gives you such a freedom, you know. If you want to shoot some documentary and you don't have to figure out your focus, you want to follow somebody, it is a really nice thing. And S1H just teases you with how good it could be, but yeah, it's just not there. But hopefully there's still gonna be some update and it's gonna improve, but I don't think so with the technology. Yeah, and one more thing that would make this camera a perfect package and I would really love to see is built-in variable ND filter. I understand that this is something that is restricted more for higher-end cine cameras and it's not common for DSLRs, but yeah, it would be really great to see, and maybe we're gonna see some adapters or some future model upgrades. So let's first talk about the gear that I bought together with S1H. My biggest dilemma with S1H was the first lens. I didn't know if I should go for Panasonic 24-70 f2.8 or 24-105 f4, and in the end I decided for 24-105 f4 because I had many recommendations from other people. These lenses gives you a bigger range. It has image stabilization, so together with dual image stabilization, especially if you zoom in, it's very handy. And since I shoot mainly outdoor, I don't really need that f2.8, so I decided to went for it, and like so far I'm really happy. I cannot compare it, but I mean, you just have to know for your purposes. I think if you're shooting lots of indoor and events, I would maybe go for 24-70, but it's also around $1,000 more expensive, so you have to take care. The second lens for the low light performance was the Sigma 50mm 1.4. I mean, this is a great lens. I needed something for the lower light and something for the detail shots with a lot of bokeh, and I mean, I really like the image. Yeah, autofocus is pretty slow on this lens, so I mean, you just have to get used to manual focus with that one. And for the third lens, I needed something longer, so for the zoom lens, I went for 70-200 f4. I mean, there was also like a same lens with f2.8, but it's much more expensive and also a lot heavier, so I decided for this one because I don't use long lenses that much. Together with this lens, I bought really expensive 2x extender, so I can have 400 millimeters range if I need. One thing to know about the extender is that it reduces your aperture. So if you have f4 with 2x extender, your minimum aperture is f8. So it only works in the daylight. So yeah, just be aware of that. I actually bought S1H in a great package from a local Slovak e-shop, photo, video shop. I'm gonna post the link below, and they had S1H in a package with the lens and gimbal from Zhiyun and one memory card. So yeah, if you're considering, maybe have a look, and if you're from Europe, it's a pretty good deal. Together with S1H, I got 2 extra batteries. I saw on the market a lot of third-party batteries, but I didn't have a good experience with those on a GH5, so I decided to spend some extra money and get the proper ones from Panasonic, and yeah, hopefully it's gonna pay off. I bought 2 64GB cards from Lexar, and so far they're working fine for me. On the forums online, I noticed some people complaining on certain cards that they have corrupted files, but it's not clear yet if it's caused because of the card or the camera, but we're gonna have to see in the future. Since the camera doesn't have built-in ND filter and matte box is pretty expensive, I bought multiple ND filters for my lenses. I use ND filters to control the exposure, but also to protect my lenses. Since I work outdoors, I need always something to protect my gear. So first, for my long lens 70-200, I bought a normal UV filter. Second, I bought this slim polarizer from K&F. This is mainly for photography. If I need to do a landscape or something outdoors, I really like that I can boost the blues from the sky. The next filter I was really excited about was variable ND and polarizer from K&F. This is actually a great package because you have polarizer and variable ND in one product. And what I was not aware of, and this is quite a limitation of this filter, is that if you screw this on the lens, the design of the filter is that the outside of the filter is much bigger than the inside, and also you have these small metal bars. So first, you cannot put the lens hood on the filter, which is quite a shame because when I'm shooting outdoors, it helps a lot to block the sun. And second, the lens cap does not fit this filter, which is a really shame, especially for me, because the reason why I want to use these variable NDs is that I'm faster and more efficient on the shoot and I don't have to change different ND filters. So since you cannot put the lens cap on this one, you have to always remove it and put it back on. So yeah, it's quite a shame. And so yeah, just something to be aware of if you're thinking about it, and if it's not a problem for you, the filter does a great job. So and then finally, for my 50mm lens, I bought ND64 from Gope. This is a nice slim filter and it just brings down the light, and yeah, it makes a great job. I spent some time to decide which gimbal I would buy, because with GH5 I was using Zhiyun Weebill, which I was really happy with. It was small and like for my purposes it worked great. I don't use gimbals that often as I used to. Because of the great image stabilization, you don't really need it that much, but for some running shows or something from the car, I would still use it. And first I wanted to buy the Weebill S, which promoted that it would work with this camera, but I heard from multiple people that it's not so easy to balance and it's like quite on edge, so I went with Zhiyun Crane 3. It's a shame because it's already quite heavier, so when I travel it's already quite some package, and since I don't use it that much, I'm not gonna bring it on every shoot, but when you need it, it makes the job. Yeah, the Crane 3 is really easy to balance with S1H. I didn't have problem with any lens, so you should not be worried about that. It also communicates electronically with S1H, so you can control your shutter, your aperture and all the settings. The only problem that I noticed is that there is some limitation on how you can control aperture. When I want to change on gimbal my aperture, it only allows me to go about 2 stops over and under. It's pretty shame because it kind of limits the usability of this feature, but yeah, I mean, you can still work around it and just set your aperture somewhere in the middle on your camera, and then you have this 2 stops over and under. The good thing is that the autofocus button works and also the shutter button, so it's much easier if you have these things on gimbal than if you would try to go to the camera. While using the gimbal, there is something to take care of. The gimbal works good when you have it like in a normal mode when the camera is on the top, and also when you have it on a sling mode when the camera is on the bottom. But I noticed that when you try to have it like in between, that the panning motion does not work well. So just make sure that you either have the camera like straight up or just straight down. For tripod, I'm using Manfrotto 502A. This is a tripod that I used in the past and I was always happy with it. It has a ball head, so it's super easy to lever in any environment, in sun and anywhere. I got cheaper, lighter legs because I don't want anything heavy. I don't use tripods that much, so yeah, like a lighter weight better for me. Now for cage, I'm not a big fan of the small cages around the camera because it's quite hard then if you want to like put it to your gimbal and other scenarios. But I have this older cage from Newer, and this is actually a great package for me. I only bought like extra plate holder on the bottom so I can easily slide the camera from the tripod to the gimbal or to this cage, and then I have like a small stand for the light and for the microphone, so then when I rig the camera I have everything in a small package and it's always super fast to rig and to de-rig. As for microphone, I have this new Rode Video Mic Pro Plus. It's a great package, works real well for me. The only downside is that the cable is coming from the end, and I would kind of like it more from the side, because from the end it kind of restricts your viewfinder for the eye, which is a bit weird. But then if I'm using the cage, the mic is on the side, so it's all fine. Right now I'm using the audio from the Rode Filmmaker kit, which is a great package. The audio is going straight to my camera, so I don't have to sync anything. If I need the second channel, then I have an extra Rode mic which can connect to my phone, and then I have like a second output that I can sync easily with this microphone. Together with Filmmaker kit, I bought the handheld mic from Rode, and you can also pair it with the Filmmaker kit, and when I'm covering some live events or something, when I need to be fast, I can just give it to somebody's hand and it works really well. The audio from this mic is actually amazing. It's even better than the small mic. As for the light, I mostly shoot outdoors, so I don't have any professional light. Right now I'm using a small cheap light from Amazon from Andor. It's not really great, the battery runs out pretty fast, and I'm looking to buy some extra light soon. Then for the flashes, I'm really happy to confirm that all my flashes from GH5 works well also with S1H. I have this small flash from Yongnuo YN5604, and you can pair it with the trigger from Yongnuo, and yeah, it syncs up to speed 3/20th of the second. And then for the outdoor flash, I have a big Godox AD600, which also pairs with S1H and works with all speeds. You can see some examples which I already took, and yeah, for the price I really think it's a good deal. Yeah, and the last thing I would like to mention is this really cheap rain sleeve. It's something really handy to always have in your camera bag, because you never know when it's going to start to rain or when I'm shooting somewhere close to the water, and especially since I'm shooting water sports, I often get my camera splashed. So yeah, it's good to have something like this on top of your camera. Even though the camera is weather sealed, yeah, you never know, and better safe than sorry, yeah? Yeah, by the way, when I'm shooting these product shots, I'm shooting most of the stuff on S1H, but when the S1H is on camera, then I'm shooting with my old GH5, so you can maybe see what's the difference in image. Yeah, also normally I would just use for this sort of work the manual focus, but just in order to test the autofocus, I let the autofocus on so we can see if it's working properly or not. Like for example, now I try to go closer to the camera, see if it can catch me further. I think in this scenario it's gonna work quite fine, but yeah, like as I was saying, when I was outdoors and I was trying to shoot some action with like multiple subjects, yeah, it was not reliable at all. So let's talk about the video quality, which is the most important thing, right? I'm gonna be showing you some examples I did over the last months, and yeah, so far I'm really happy with it. It's definitely an upgrade from GH5. As I was saying, when you have the perfect light and a perfect scenario, it's gonna be pretty similar to GH5 if you don't wanna grade it like completely nuts, but then if you're in a tough situation or if you want to shoot against the sun, it's definitely noticeable how better the image is. Yeah, the colors and the quality of the image is really amazing. I'm not gonna go super into detail because there is already plenty of comparisons online, so you can only see briefly what I did. I was first working with V-Log, which is really great in tweaking in post-process. If you're shooting 10-bit, you can clearly see how much it allows you to do with the shot. I mean, with GH5, when I tried to make some secondary corrections, the image was breaking very fast. With S1H, you just have more flexibility with the image. So if you want to push something, tweak the exposure, you just have more robust file that it's really easy and good to work with. Yeah, the one thing that I noticed on the V-Log is that you have quite a lot of noise in the shadows, and it's something that also Panasonic says it openly, that they do not remove any noise, so you can do it in the post, but you just have to make sure that you have to really overexpose the V-Log. If you try to expose it about the 0 EV, you're really not gonna have a nice image. I'm gonna show you some examples which I did indoors. So when you try to expose V-Log, just try to really overexpose it, just so you're not clipping highlights. When I was researching V-Log, I stumbled online on many people complaining on this V-Log, and definitely the most local guy was Daniel, and he was actually pointing out the ghosting and smearing issues on the V-Log with S1H, and he is suggesting to use HLG color mode for this camera, which I tried, and yeah, it works pretty well. He actually created his own advanced LUT, which I'm gonna leave the link below, and yeah, together it works pretty fine. You just have to expose it really differently. It has to be exposed at 0 or maybe even a little bit below, not overexposed. So it's a little bit bigger challenge, because if I'm shooting outdoors, I need to have a bigger ND. With a V-Log, it's maybe a little bit easier for me. But in the future, there is also a chance that the V-Log is going to be fixed, because the same issue used to be on S1, and with the new firmware they fixed it. So hopefully they're going to fix it with the S1H2, but for now HLG is a great option. Yeah, and another tip from me while using this camera would be to really go into the menus and see all the functions. There are tons of functions, and you can assign the custom buttons, and I actually change all the buttons on my camera. And if you're curious about that, I have the export of my settings. I'm gonna post the link below, so you can maybe try to upload it to your camera and see how it works for you and maybe tweak it around. But yeah, it's definitely handy to spend some time one day, go through the menus, read the manuals, check some videos about the settings and learn how to use this camera, because there are some great options to use. For example, one thing that I found, and it's really useful, is autofocus button that I think it's called like AF on or something like that. But basically it's a focus button that you can assign to any function button. I assign it to the button on the front of the camera, and it allows you to autofocus even if you're in the manual mode. And this is something great for my workflow, because since the camera autofocus is just not there, I'm always using the manual focus. And in the past with the GH series cameras, I always had to like go back to the autofocus mode to just focus and then go back to the manual mode. But now you can just always be on a manual focus mode, quickly focus on something, and I have always speaking on, so I can see if it's focused right and then shoot, and then just only adjust it manually with your hands. Yeah, for the color grading, I was tweaking the image in Resolve, and if you're using the V-Log mode, definitely the best LUTs to download are directly from Panasonic EVA. I'm gonna post the link below. And if you're using HLG, definitely check the advanced LUT from Daniel. I don't think there is a better LUT for this mode on the market right now for S1H. Okay, so this was a brief overview of my new gear and my experience with S1H. Unfortunately, right now we are under the lockdown, so all my shooting jobs got cancelled and I'm in quarantine. So if you're interested in more details, or you have some questions, or you want some additional videos, please let me know. Since I have time, I'm gonna be happy to assist. So see you guys next time. Ciao.